Welcome to Work Reborn, live from Barcelona, brought to you by Lenovo. Work Reborn is a research series surveying over 600 senior IT leaders worldwide to uncover the key to creating a productive digital workplace. Last report, we talked about using AI to work smarter and stay safer. Now we're moving from AI readiness to AI reality, where technology and human connection are reshaping how we work and thrive in this new era of work, or as we like to call it, Work Reborn. Let's get started. Hey Tal, how are
Hi.
you doing?
Great.
Thank you so much for coming by the podcast booth. For anyone listening, can you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do as a partner of Lenovo?
Of course. So I'm Tal Klein. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Lakeside Software. We've been partnered with Lenovo for a long time. I'm actually a boomerang, so I'm back at Lakeside.
Okay.
And even the first time I was at Lakeside, we did a lot of work with Lenovo. At the time, it was the Device as a Service program. Now we're doing a lot more work together on the digital workplace services. But the key is to ensure that the services that Lenovo provides to their customers are informed by data, and we provide the endpoint telemetry that makes that possible to let people know how things are happening.
I'm really glad that you're here because I think that having the different perspectives from your end as a partner really will give a lot of value to our listeners. Our listeners are primarily like CIOs, CTOs that are really trying to navigate this change of how we're bringing new life to the modern workplace. And based on our Work Reborn research, we found that nearly half of IT decision makers, 49%, say their number one goal is creating a productive and engaging employee experience, but only 36% believe that their current digital workplace actually supports that effectively. In your opinion, how are you at Lakeside and with what we're doing as well? How are you designing IT to create not just productivity, but a positive and personalized employee experience?
So the first question is, when you're reporting on productivities, how are you measuring productivity? And that's really what Lakeside brings to the table, is a measurement for end user experience. So then you have a baseline to say, this is the status quo, and are things getting better or are they getting worse with every investment? So a lot of organizations right now are kind of having to go through, say, Windows 11 migration, because Microsoft said Windows 10 is end of life. And so they're trying to decide, do I have the right device to support my users on Windows 11? Now we're hearing a lot more about AI PCs. A lot of organizations are trying to determine when is the right time to upgrade my devices to ones that have NPUs to support AI PC workloads. And so to do that, you have to have a fundamental understanding of the end user experience, be able to measure it, and then base your investments on the outcomes of those scores.
I think something that could cause maybe confusion or misalignment is what exactly to measure, like tactically, when we talk about the KPI of that, right? Like, how can you put a number on a human experience?
Well, it's a great question. I think that what you shouldn't do, I'm not a big believer in surveys.
Okay.
Right? So, because they have like net promoter scores and all that stuff. And when you or I answer a survey, it's only usually if the service is exceptional or terrible. Rarely will we give it 3.
Right.
Right? So we usually deal with worlds where there's a lot of polarization. I think a good way to examine user experience is to understand the baseline of a workflow for somebody's job. So let's say I'm in sales, my job is to work in Salesforce. I create opportunities and all that kind of stuff. There's a certain amount of ebb and flow to my work. How long does it take an email to open? How long does it take me to get my browser tab to load Salesforce? So there's a certain baseline for how long that takes. If that starts taking longer, right, then you can infer that my user experience has suffered, right? And so there's a lot of things you could do from telemetry. If you understand the workload of the user, rather than asking them, are you happy? Because a lot of times if you ask me if I'm happy with my email experience, and I just received an email I didn't like.
Right. Like, what does happy quantifiably mean?
Exactly. So instead of using qualification metrics, use quantification metrics to say, like, this is the average amount of time things take to happen. And if they fall outside of those boundaries, then it's bad. If they happen faster than usual, then that's good, right?
So if we're not doing surveys, is it more like collaborative or like
Um,
what's the replacement for that?
so let's move away from the notion of work for a second and think of self-service checkout.
Okay,
We're at a store, we're trying to check out.
right.
And so we scan the barcode and it doesn't scan right, or the thing's broken or whatever, then I'm having a negative user experience.
Hmm.
But if I scan the barcode and when I put my credit card in, it pays and everything just happens magically, I'm happy,
Mm.
right? I don't need to be ebullient.
Right, right,
Like we
right.
don't have to, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about employee productivity and happiness. You know,
Mm.
people have a job to do and they're happiest when they can do their job, right? And so if I have a baseline for what it takes for me to do my job, which is like the superset of the tools and devices and networks and resources and peripherals that it takes for me to do my job. And if I understand what the ebb and flow of that is on a regular basis, I can have a pretty good idea of how either improvements or deteriorations of those things will impact my user experience.
Mm.
So in the self-service checkout, every time things are slower, I can assume the user is unhappy or the customer is unhappy.
Right, right. That
But
makes sense.
if things are seamless, then I can assume the user
Had
or
a good
the
experience.
customer is happy, right? So I think it's really about this notion of, I think McKinsey calls it next best action, which is like, what is the delta between the thing that you're doing now and the thing you want to do next?
Mm.
And if that delta is normal or better than normal, then I can assume that you're probably happy.
Let's talk more about the internal side of this, right?
Yeah.
So when things do go wrong,
Yeah.
which with technology they inevitably do, fixing the problems is just as important as the functionality of it as self. According to our Lenovo Work Reborn research, 83% of IT leaders agree predictive and proactive issue resolution is the key in digital workplace. So only 21% though have actually achieved that. What's standing in the way of bridging that gap? And what small step do you think can move the industry closer?
So again, let's just go back to our daily lives, because I don't like talking to abstractness. But
Right,
this
we
notion
want to
like,
get relatable here.
I'm my family's IT director,
I love that.
right? So when the internet is slow, they call dad. When they can't print, they call dad. When the batteries on the keypad to get into the house are out, they call dad, right? So the automation of these things are really important to me because especially when I'm away from home and say conferences, I have to continue making sure that my family has a positive IT experience at home,
Right.
and that issues are resolved, and so you build automations and stuff like that. And so I think a lot of the focus up until now has been on kind of overweight on, as you said, exactly what we talked about before, which is like, are we making users happy? I think instead of being worried about whether employees are happy or not, which I think more falls in the realm of HR,
Yeah.
IT is starting to think about, okay, how do I get things back to normal as quickly as possible? Because if I can assume that normal is happy,
Right.
right? Because people should be happy doing their jobs, or at least satisfied doing their jobs. That's why they're
Right.
there. They can quit, right? So the proactive notion of it is how much of the labor of repair are you passing on to the user? So if things magically heal themselves, I'm probably fine, right? It's really great. That doesn't often happen. So let's say I notice a problem. How quickly does the problem resolve itself? The clock starts at the moment I notice the problem, and then the longer it goes, you can assume I'm unhappy. And so a lot of these self-service mechanisms now say, okay, well, let me build a chatbot that'll help Tal get his problem solved. Well, if that chatbot says, well, Tal can't print, let me go provide him with a bunch of information from the internet on how to fix printing problems, that's probably going to take me a long time to repair it. But if that chatbot has a good understanding of exactly what printer I have and exactly what kind of device I have and the operating system and the applications, it can probably reduce the number of things that I need to try in order to solve my problem. So the more information that I have and the more data that chatbot or AI engine or agent has to help me solve my problems, the happier I'll be and the more productive I'll be, right? So I think that's the world we're starting to see at. I think before, it was really tough for employers to provide employees with a reliable self-service mechanism for support because AI didn't really exist. So you'd send them to a knowledge base article or you'd send them to a Google search or whatever. I think now we have the capacity to actually look and almost build a help desk technician into everybody's laptop. So that help desk technician will understand what they're using, what they're trying to do, and bridge that gap without invoking IT and without taking a long time, and just getting that person back to work.
What would you say the future of work looks like? In your opinion, what does work reborn mean to you? We say the word a lot, but like really think about this. Work reborn, not work here, you know?
Yeah. I think that if we think about the services a company provides for us that just enable us to do our job, we were hired to do a job.
Right.
So our companies provide us with a bunch of, if we think of them like utilities at home, power, water, electricity, like whatever, all that kind of stuff. The same goes with IT resources and, HR benefits and all those. And what I think we're starting to see is all of those things are becoming agentic. So the friction between me needing something and that thing being provided for me when I need it and the way I need it is reducing dramatically. So I think the future of work is frictionless, or as frictionless as possible, where the only friction that should be that would be the delta between me and my job getting done versus me and all the things in the world that I need to be provided for me in order to get my job done.
Does frictionless mean happy?
Happy is complicated. I mean, I happen to love my job. I don't know if everybody loves their job, but
Right.
I also don't know that it's an employer's responsibility to necessarily keep employees happy.
But
They
it's
should
their responsibility to optimize the experience.
keep them productive.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Happiness, hopefully people are in jobs that they
Yeah.
enjoy or are finding joy in the things that they do.
Right.
I don't know that it's an employer's responsibility to keep you happy. I think that,
I think it's an important distinction, though, because I think when we hear the term employee experience thrown around, there's a gray area around what does that fully encompass and mean. So hopefully, like you're saying, and like we've had in this conversation, for what I'm hearing, it's optimizing both internally what can be done, the product itself externally, and making things frictionless as far as the tools, and then allowing the I think it's more about being empowered, less
Yes.
than being happy.
That's very profound. I think that's exactly right. I think what you want to do is you say, like, let's just assume that I've been given a job and I've accepted the job because this is something I want to do at a place I want to do it. And so now, the company's job is to create as little friction between me and the work they hired me to do. And I think that productivity begets hopefully happiness, but at the end of the day, it's really about just being empowered to do my job and not spend half my day trying to deal with support or HR or
Right.
finance or whatever. It's just me doing my job.
Absolutely. What are you most excited about in the next couple of years at Lakeside and Lenovo with our partnership that you think, without dropping anything specific, but but like generally, like people should be excited about?
I don't like to use the word pivotal often, but we are at a pivotal moment for enterprise IT and technology in general. I think that.
Generally speaking, I'm hearing like the fourth industrial revolution era or something like that. It's like the buzz around when the internet and the device came out. I feel this similar feeling of that, but with AI and
It's
everything we're
changing
doing now.
everything.
Right.
And it's a weird. It's weird because I'm in marketing, so
Right.
we're the people who always say, the
It's
world has changed.
groundbreaking,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pivotal, but like truly, yeah.
I really, I really feel that, deeply now in doing my job and seeing how it's affecting everything else. Actually, in recording this podcast, I saw that the ones you did in Orlando and the magical editing and like, this is stuff that would have taken forever before.
Right, it would have. It would have been impossible before, yeah.
And now we get directly to the meat of the conversation, to the
Right.
outcomes that people want to see. They don't have to hear our ums and uhs and all that kind of stuff. They
Right.
get directly to the stuff. And so, that's game changing.
It's exciting to be able to focus on the work itself and the here and now, and not let things like admin or bureaucracy or systems or tools like get in the way of the work.
It plays really well to my ADHD because now I can just stay focused on stuff. I don't have to worry about all these things that I have to do to get my work done.
Yes, same actually. Well, thank you so much, Tal, for being on the show. I really appreciated your insights and enjoyed our conversation. If anyone is interested in learning more about the Work Reborn report, make sure you download a copy for yourself by clicking the link in the description below. And if you're watching us on YouTube, check out the QR code over here on the screen. You can scan to grab the copy of your Work Reborn report. Thank you for joining us on this conversation today, Tal, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Work Reborn, powered by Lenovo. Lenovo is turning readiness into reality, empowering people, technology, and businesses to move forward together. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Apple or Spotify to continue the conversation on how we're bringing new life to the modern workplace. Thanks for watching.
Lenovo.